All right, guys. So we are live today, and I'm very, very excited to have you guys live with me today again. So this is another Thursday, another day to step up, another day to grow in your career. So as you all know, this is Ascend, and what we are doing here actually is to help you grow beyond the technical part of it. It's also very important that you understand that there is a life that programmers have beyond coding. There's also the side of programmers, the side of tech guys, the side of tech career that is not just about being serious about work. There are so many things that you need to know behind the scenes. Okay. So today I have so many amazing voices in the industry, experts in the industry with several years of experience who will be bringing us into the limelight of what we need to understand for those who are starting a career. For previous sessions, we have discussed a whole lot. We've discussed about cybersecurity, software engineering, and tech careers in general. Okay, so today we'll be diving a bit deep into software engineering, specifically programming, in the development aspect of software engineering. And I have with me today two software engineers joining myself, who is also a software engineer, and we'll be sharing with you very exciting live tips and very good insights that will help you as a beginner to grow in your career. Okay, just please hang on, keep connected, and if you are hearing me, I would want you to hit it on this comment section that you can hear me. Yeah, someone is saying hi. If you are here connected, that's Chinemere Mebere. Thank you so much for your hi. We are celebrating you, and we know that today you're going to get a lot of values from what we'll be doing today. So if you are here, you can hear us. Please drop your hi. Say right on, guys. Say hello. You can drop where you're coming from. You're coming from Nigeria, Lagos, Abuja, UK, US, anywhere in the world. You're connecting to us today. Please let us know where you're coming from. All right, guys. So today I have two amazing guys. You all know Patrick. Patrick has been joining us for several sessions and has been giving a lot of insight. We've really enjoyed his insight and the knowledge he has been sharing with us. His experiences has been helping everyone who has been connecting in this session. There are a lot of guys out there who has been, listening to us for the past about 4 sessions I've had, and Patrick has been instrumental in giving out his experience and knowledge in the industry. So I will also give him the floor. He will also give a bit of an intro of himself again. Of course, it's never exhaustive. So we have another amazing guy here. His name is Victor Joseph. Victor Joseph is my very good friend, and I'm really, really happy to see him here. So I'll give him the floor. I'll give him the chance to introduce himself briefly before we proceed into what we have for today. So please, Victor Joseph, can you just tell us about yourself and what you do? Yeah.
Yeah, hi Prince. Thank you very much for having me here today. It's a pleasure being here, speaking with your audience. So, as he said, my name is Victor Joseph. I'm a builder, and currently I'm a software developer at UBA. I've been working in the industry for quite a while now, say somewhere over 5 years, and I love to build stuff, right? I love to build stuff. I love to help people, and at this point of my life, I'm helping people by building software solutions in the commercial bank. So, yeah, thank you very much once again for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Thank you so much, Victor. I'm so happy to have you today. We are so
Yeah,
excited to have you, and we can't wait to hear what you have for us. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Patrick, you can just tell us about yourself again. Yeah,
Okay, I'm Patro Anthony. A software
yeah,
developer, and I think I share the same passion with Victor, a builder as well.
yeah.
Yeah, I also love building stuff, and um I've worked with a couple of companies and startups, and yeah, I love building stuff and using my programming knowledge, to actually solve problems. I think that's one of the things that I feel so satisfied about. And yeah, I can't wait to share a bit of my knowledge today. And sure, I can't wait.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, Patrick. I'm happy to have you guys today. Victor, you're welcome. Patrick, you're welcome. It's exciting to have the introduction from you people, trying to tell us about what you do and what, from introduction, we can basically see what development and software engineering is about. It's problem solving, helping people to sort out real life problems with your technical knowledge. That's your programming knowledge. Okay, so today we are diving into the personal side of tech. It's not being every programmer is a story. There's a spark, a struggle, and a breakthrough. And trust me, felt completely lost. There was a time in my life, there was a time in my journey when I never wanted to continue. All right. And this is the moment that we'll be sharing with you today because I see so many persons giving up on their journey of pushing for a career because of some blockers, because of some challenges, and they feel that no one else had experienced that challenge. Most times some persons try to emulate some some big tech guys out there who are breaking boundaries and making a lot of impact in the industry without knowing that there was once a time in their life when they never knew anything. There was a time in my life when I never knew how to operate a laptop. After a while I became very conversant with a laptop, and then from there I started making some progress, learning how to write codes, and not just writing codes, solving problems, not just solving problems, solving the world's problem, solving problems that affect millions and thousands of persons. Victor is here working with a commercial bank, and that entails solving problems that are affecting a whole lot of population. Okay, so we are very important in the world, and behind our success, there is a story that is hidden. We don't say it all the time, but in a session like this, you can meet us, you can meet experts who are doing well, and they will share with you some of the challenges they've had. So you feel encouraged to continue your journey and push it to the end. Okay. So there are a lot of moments and there are a lot of experiences that programmers have come to pass through in their journey. That's the reason why we are having today's session, the personal side of tech. Okay. There are moments where you felt curious about coding. Something actually made you to start programming. Okay. So I don't know, but for me, I have my own story and I have my own style, but I would share it as well with others. So I think I will start with Victor. Please tell us, what was the moment that made you curious about coding? Because for some persons, it was a game, possibly they encountered a game and they wanted to replicate what was in the game. Maybe it was a mobile app or someone asked you to join the tech field, or some, or possibly in a session like Ascend like this, you came in and you saw what people are doing and you wanted to replicate it. So what was the moment that made you curious and then that drove you into development?
Okay, so for myself, um, I've been through a lot of stuff. So first of all, um, when I started programming, was somewhere around when I left my secondary school. So I was like I took JAMB and then I was waiting for admission. And then I had this friend of mine, his name is Joshua. He has a startup now, Big Merchant. And those times was still very early, right? So we didn't know much about software and all those things. And he had built this mobile app and then he came and he showed all of us and then it was so cool. And um I wanted to build mine. So I took my phone, then I didn't have laptop actually. So I took my phone and then there was this Absolute Learn on Play Store where you could, write some commands and get some output from it, just to learn some basic syntax of the programming language. So it was that I started with. So that was like the very, very first thing I did. So I because I didn't have a laptop, so I was just there learning one or two. I think then it was Java I was learning, because Java, it was mobile app. So I had learned a bit of Java, and then I started playing around with Kotlin. But along the line, I dropped it off for some other stuff. So yeah, that was like the basics of like the foundation. And maybe if you want, I could continue to how I got into software, and then other parts. But like that was like the foundation. Seeing that my friend built his first application. It was very basic, but then it was exciting. We were young then, and then seeing that happen, it was actually nice. So yeah.
Wow. There is always a starting point in everything. No one started from the top. There's always a basic level, the base level, the foundation of whatsoever thing you are doing. Okay. So let me also relate to our audience right now. I don't know where you're connecting from, but if you can hear me, you can just share your own experience here, and I tell you we can relate with it. There's nothing about that you should be ashamed of sharing right now, and we can really relate with it and also throw more insight on how to help you, scale up from wherever you are and whatever level that you are currently in your journey. So you can see there's one thing significant that you know goes across every beginning stage that is kind of very impactful, and it's also a skill that we need to imbibe and have as we move in our tech and also in our journey in our career. Okay, one of them is that you see curiosity is very, very important. You can't do without curiosity. If you must start, there's one thing that must drive you, and one of the things that must drive you is curiosity. Okay. So I still remember the moment. It was like yesterday for me, right? So what happened was that I think I was going through a website. I can't even remember the name, but I was just going through the website, and then I was like, how does this work? How are some of the slides? There was the early days when I think it was jQuery or some of these animations came into play, and then I was looking at some of them going very in a fancy way. I wanted to know how the thing worked. So I asked myself, how did someone build this? How did they make this happen? And that one question refused to leave my mind. It kept reoccurring, it kept resounding, it kept, popping up on a daily basis. And then later on, I started searching for how to build a website, how to make the animations work, and all those stuff. And it took me to a new world, an entire new world. I didn't even know what coding was really about. I was just curious about knowing how the stuff was working, right? So, but the curiosity, wouldn't let me rest. That was the reason why I pushed into development. I pushed into working hard to understand how this thing worked. And from there, I appeared as a developer today, right? So, and I can hear the same story around your experience going through a friend's mobile application, trying to know how it works. Okay. So, no matter, I think I know someone is listening to us today and you are like, I haven't experienced so much to start. You don't need a whole lot of experience to start. As long as you have curiosity, as long as you can observe the way things are going around you, just try to ask yourself that singular question of how does it work? How can I make this thing happen? How can I join the queue? How can I, relate with the experience that made the developer to build this? And from that instance, you can start researching. You have ChatGPT with you. You have YouTube with you. You have a lot of platforms with you that you can ask that same question. How did they build this website, and what are the stages? What are the processes it takes to build their website, and how can I learn them? This is a good place to start from. Okay, before I go, in depth, let me also ask Patrick to share his own experience with us. Yeah, Patrick.
Thank you, Prince. So mine was also out of curiosity. So I started with the basics of computer operations, say computer appreciations. I mean, so yeah, like you can say typing, basically formatting documents, and yeah, graphic design. So yeah, I actually started with you know those tools like the Microsoft's 360 and Corel Draw. Yeah, so while I was learning that, right, and yeah, I think I was actually good at those. My tutor then mentioned HTML for designing websites. He mentioned that once, and I don't know, but it's just sticks to my head. I was like HTML for websites. So I I was like, what's HTML? And that's how the whole curiosity stuff started. I I went home to do my own research, and it turned out to be something really cool, right? So then I think I had this old mini laptop, so I now tried implementing what I read, right? So I watched some videos, I read some PDFs, then I made some Google search, and you know so it started to make sense, right? Because what I was learning, right, the document formatting, like you have B for bold, um, P for paragraph, and those stuffs were just almost the same thing you have on HTML, right? They were HTML tags I was seeing then, right? So I was like, oh, this relates, right? B for bold, and it was actually simple, all right? Not hard. It was actually simple, and that's how the old stuff started. And I started with HTML, designing web pages. And there was a time I showed my colleague, right? Then at, you know, the the started where we learned the skill. So I was like, oh, this is cool. So I had to now, teach them what I went back to learn, right? I think then I was like writing the HTML tags on a paper and then showing them, and that actually, solidified my knowledge then. And yeah, that's how it started, HTML, and then with further research and curiosity, I found out that it doesn't really end with HTML. You have to like beautify, the web pages, and that's when CSS came in, right? And it still doesn't, end there. We have to add functionality and interactions, right? And that's when JavaScript came in. So yeah, that's like summary of how mine started.
Wow. Very exciting, right? I love the fact that you're able to relate with what you have been doing before and then transition it into the programming aspect of it. So there is this link between HTML and Microsoft Word, even starting from the scratch when I was trying to start, practicing with HTML. I had already practiced, tried out Microsoft Word before then, and I was like, this is almost the same thing. What's the difference? Can't I use Microsoft Word to do this stuff? Or are they using Microsoft Word behind the scene? There were a lot of, interesting questions that are coming to my mind. And these are some of the questions that I know beginners ask. And I tell you, it is very, very awesome to have something that you have been doing and then you are trying to relate it with what you are about to do. For instance, just like Patrick mentioned, everyone has where they started. It doesn't matter how you started or where you are starting from. What matters most is, will you start? Please start. It's very important to start. I've been like emphasizing on this for a long time right now. You don't have any reason not to start, no matter the background where you are coming from. Okay. The same experience, I think I shared the same experience with Patrick. The first language I tried was HTML. And let me be honest with you. I didn't even know it was called a language. I just thought it was like typing, just like we have Microsoft Word to do something around it, and then it still produces the same effect with Microsoft Word. I remember like opening a tutorial, and then the first thing was like I typed a header tag, H1 tag, and then hello world, and seeing it appear on the screen, I was so excited. Like, does this thing work? I saw the YouTube guy. I can't remember that very YouTube guy. I saw that guy, he was doing it, I did it, I replicated it. I didn't even know what he was doing. I just followed him. I saved it in an indexed HTML file. I tried opening it in a browser and it opened and I saw it. I was very excited to have that. That was the first time I ever did, programming at the basic level and it worked. Okay. So, but I didn't stop there. That moment felt like magic, but I kept moving. And as soon as I moved beyond it, it got confusing at some point. I started having some complexities, tags, nesting, styling, and so many things. I felt like learning a new way to think. It was very much complex for me, but I didn't stop. Okay, I didn't stop. So it doesn't matter the first language, it doesn't matter where you are starting from or what you're about to learn. Some person start with HTML, some start with Python, some start with JavaScript. What matters is that you start. So wherever you want to start, feel free to start. You can start with any language actually, but let me allow our speakers to throw more light on this. Let me see how their foundations were and let me see how they started as well. So I think Patrick has mentioned he started with HTML. Victor, please can you tell us how did you start? What was your first programming language and what was the experience like?
Yeah, like I mentioned, I started off a bit too high. Maybe I would say that maybe I started off with Java. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, it was Java. So it was mobile app. So I already had a knowledge on HTML and CSS a bit, right? So I knew like they existed. So some sort. And something I should mention, which you talked about, it's very very important. When you when you want to be a creative, you need to have this curious mindset. So back then, even up till now, I'm someone that was very curious. Like when I see something that is new, I try to check out what is this, especially when it's as it relates to tech. So starting up, I started out Java because that was what my friend used to build his, and then I think I went to Kotlin, and then I think after that I now jumped to C++. So I've been doing hard
Wow.
stuff from from the time
Wow.
yeah, well, but that was basically then from C++ and then I went to learn Python and HTML, CSS and yeah, all that. So yeah, that was it.
Wow. I must confess that you started from the hard part, like from the tough places. That's where you started. You started from cracking the hardest part of the rock and then started going down. It feels like you started from the top, but let me not say that. I know that most persons who are listening to us, they have this bias about where to start and how to start. Some will tell you that C++ is for advanced programmers. It is when you have advanced in development that you can start touching C++, or when you have advanced in developing that you can start touching Java and Python. Like I'm so excited that you are here and you started with Java, right? That's one of the hardest programming languages. Like it's not quite beginner friendly, I must confess, compared to other ones like
Yeah.
JavaScript and Python. Python is beginner friendly, JavaScript is beginner friendly, but there are a whole lot of complexities and very well advanced terminologies in Java and C++. But that was where you started from. Okay, so let me also hear from our audience. So if you are hearing us, I would like to know what language you are planning to start with. Possibly, we can also give you some recommendation on how you can go about starting and the best language you can start with. Any language works for beginners as long as you can relate and understand. You can start with anyone. However, if you are finding it hard to make a choice, you can just drop it on the comment section. We are going to attend to you. If you don't know where to start, just say, I don't know where to start. I need your recommendation. I will tell you the best way to start, the best beginner path to take. Okay. So I want to ask you a question, Victor, because I'm curious. To be sincere with you, I'm curious about your journey and your experience. These languages that you started with, they are not beginner friendly, and I must from my experience right now tell you that you actually had some struggles and some back and forth, a lot of blockers going into Java as a beginner. it doesn't even sound so smooth for some advanced tech guys, to venture into Java. So, but you kept pushing from Java. You mentioned from Java to Kotlin. I think Kotlin is a bit fair, but from Java to Kotlin, from Kotlin to Python, from Python to C++. What were you looking for? Why were you moving from these languages from one to the
So,
other and the other
so
to the other?
okay. So
So
I'd
maybe you
say,
understand. Yeah.
yeah. So I'd say that first of all, sometimes the languages you choose can impact your learning, like how far you'd go. So that's one thing to mention also. So I started out, but I just learned some of the basics of it. Now, like you said, when you get into all these languages, they're very difficult. So by the time I started out, I saw how difficult this thing was. I was like, I don't think I'll do this anymore, right? So, but actually, it wasn't because it was difficult that I stopped, right? It was because after I did it a while, I kind of realigned my focus and asked myself, like, what did I want to do? So as at that point in time, I was and I still am very passionate about robotics. So it was in my journey into that, I now ask myself, because I was about getting to the university. So I asked myself, like, what was my career path like? So I was like, I wanted to be like at that time I wanted to study mechatronics. So but as at then, I don't think there was any school offering mechatronics engineering in Nigeria. I think Futo came out, I think, the year I got admission. So um I now said, okay, so what is the best language that goes aligned with the robotics space? And that was C++. So as I was still trying to learn Java, I kind of had to realign my focus and say, okay, let's shift this. This is where our career, this is what I'm looking forward to becoming. And I wanted to learn, I wanted to, dive into robotics and all that. So that was when I started learning C++. And so I learned C++. I actually learned it well, like to a good extent. So I now started playing around with some microcontrollers. I had a few projects, right? Some of all these microcomputer controllers, servo motors, different, a lot of them. Those days in my university room, it was filled with a lot of like, and most of my
Wow.
classmates will see that, and some of them will just come and be like, you're wasting your money," because I used a lot of my money
Yeah.
to buy most of those stuff. I had a lot of them in my room. There was this
Mm,
place I just packed them, and I experimented with a lot. Did a lot of all these, um, you know, automations with trying to, maybe turn off a light with a mobile app. So there was this way you could create a
yeah.
simple mobile app and turn off a light with it, and do various stuff. Create this four-wheel drive car that could move and then avoid obstacles. So I did a lot of all those stuff. And I don't know, should,
Wow.
should I continue? Then I
Wow.
could talk about when I went into web development at some point in time. So I don't know,
Okay.
should I continue?
Okay. Yeah. Proceed.
Okay.
Proceed.
So
Proceed. Yeah. Yeah. I think.
um
Yeah.
I did a lot of that robotic stuff up until I think COVID-19. So COVID-19, I was stuck and I was looking for something else to do. So I was still trying to still brush up my skills, but then um I went to my dad's shop, and then when I went to my dad's shop, because I returned back home after they gave a little bit the thing calmed down a bit. So I went back home, and then I was just like in my dad's shop, and I was looking at the place, and that still brings this stuff. The mindset of curiosity, the mindset of solving problems, these are very two important skills for a software developers, right? So I was there, and
Wow.
then I was just looking at the shop because and then I was like, they do collection. So when you sell, you do an inventory of what you sold. So they write it manually on paper. And then I was just looking at it. So normally when I sell, I had to write it down. But then I just like, how about I like automate this stuff? It's quite boring, you get.
Mm.
So
Wow.
and then
Wow. I see
and
it.
then when I
Yeah.
when I looked at it, I was like, so but I don't have the skills to do. So I was like the same thing, curious, why can't I learn it? And then that was how I picked up a tutorial on Python. And then I
Wow.
saw that, okay, you could build stuff on Python, you could build stuff on Django. and then I started working on that. And then, uh, funny enough, I started building it. It took me, I think it took me about 3 months to build. And when I was done,
That's after learning.
no, the,
Was
the,
were
the,
you
the
learning
entire
and
learning, yeah,
building?
I was learning building it. So I would, yeah,
Building, yeah,
I
yeah.
was,
Okay, because you had experience with C and Java and the
yeah, yeah,
rest, so
yeah.
it was easy for you to like
Yeah,
adapt to it. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah,
somehow,
I understand it.
but
Yeah,
web programming and robotics, they're sort of bit
yeah, it's
different. So
entirely
because I had to
different.
go learn,
Yeah,
I had to go
entirely
learn
different.
HTML, I had to go learn CSS, I had to learn a bit of JavaScript to do some things,
Wow.
and then
Yeah.
Python also. So by the time I had
Wow.
learned, by the time I had learned, I was learning and building the solution. So when I had was done building the solution, I then discovered that I could have done all those whole stuff with a spreadsheet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Guy.
well,
But at least
yeah,
experience and the knowledge was not a waste.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
that's one thing I
Actually,
tell beginners. I tell beginners that you see, no matter how foolish, how minor, how insignificant it may appear about what you are doing, don't stop, because it's not just that you are trying to build something. The major thing is that you are trying to improve and grow in what you have known. If you learn and you don't build, I tell you, building makes you learn faster,
true.
and it makes your learning real, and it makes the experience true for you. If you don't build, if you're just reading, going through courses, taking courses, and you don't apply the knowledge of what you are getting from those courses, your learning curve will be wide and it will be long for you. I tell you, one of the reasons why I like the experience and the way you shared it, you were learning and you were building. So when you learn a tag today, you build something with it. This is the strategy. I've always said it. When you learn, you build, you talk about it. Learn, build, and talk about it. Don't learn and stop building. Don't build and not talk about it. So when you learn it, even if it's an element that you learned today, write something, write a code about that element, even if it's a H1 tag, for instance, or a paragraph tag that you learned in day one. Write that tag, apply it, make it work. If it doesn't work, find out why it's not working. The essence of finding out why it's not working is also a learning experience for you. Okay, when it works, it's a go. You push it out, screenshot it, come on LinkedIn, come on Twitter, talk about it, say about it, tag people. You can tag me, I will comment, I will like, I will even share it. Okay. I'm telling you, I love seeing progress. I love seeing beginners make impact. I love seeing beginners, make progress in development. Okay. So this is it. Thank you so much. Like I love that very experience about how and what made you transition from one language to the other. The reason why you were moving from one language to the other wasn't because this language were not competent or their capacity were low. No, it was because of focus. Every language has a focus, every language has a target. As your target and your focus are adjusting, there is always the it's likely that you are going to adjust in your choice of programming languages. And please, you need to understand that. So when you were doing microcontrollers and robotics, you had to go with C, because C is one of the best languages that can do that for you. So if you are coming to web development, maybe possibly backend development, there are languages specifically, built for that scenario, for that environment. Of course, you can do backend development with C, but most of these are easily done with Python, with JavaScript, that's with Node.js, with PHP, and this it works that way. Look at focus, you the market of your choice that are more commonly used in the industry for specific reasons and for specific purposes. For instance, Node.js, Python, they are used in web development industry. Okay, so if you are going for this aspect, these programming languages, then when you come into gaming, C sharp, C++, Java, guys are good gaming. You see it. So if you are going to this aspect, you have programming languages and the market demand in that area. Okay. So thank you so much, Victor. Like I love and I can't overemphasize the significance of your progress and your journey, even to the point of sharing it here. Is very much important. So I know that some persons are hopping from one programming language to the other. Yes, it's not a bad thing. You can experience and learn the basics. There's a place of learning basics and there's a place of application. That you know the basics of a language doesn't give you the competence to start building very advanced projects with that language. So it's a place of mastery as well. Okay, but you can learn basics, and when you learn basics, sit down and think about your focus. Sit down and think about where do you want to apply this thing on. Possibly you are learning Java, possibly you are learning Python, or you are learning what's it called? You are learning JavaScript or any of them. And at the end of the whole learning experience, you should also ask yourself the areas you want to start applying this your learning and your knowledge in. And these areas will determine how in depth you should go in that particular programming language. Okay. So thank you so much. I love today's session. And one thing that I know, even if you don't feel like making progress and making impact and continue with your journey, you should also know that we all pass through these things. Are you facing a bug, facing a challenge? Is it a device problem? Don't worry, we'll still talk about it. We all pass through all these challenges. You don't have any reason to stop. Okay. So let me ask you, Patrick, beyond the excitement that you had starting your career, what kept you going? Because for you, your experience was from HTML to CSS to JavaScript, and then you start advancing. For Victor, his was from Java. By the time he cracked Java, it would be easier for him to proceed with other languages. Okay, he will not encounter the level of difficulty that you would encounter starting from CSS to JavaScript. That's a whole wide gap of development experience. So what kept you going at the first instance when you developed and you attempted JavaScript? How how was the feeling like? Because many people have become so afraid of JavaScript they can't even leave CSS and go to JavaScript because they are very afraid. They don't know how to do it. They're afraid. So how was your experience like, and what kept you going? How were you able to conquer the blockers and the challenges, the obstacles that you encountered on your way?
Okay. Yeah, I think I actually forgot to mention this, right? But before I go to JavaScript, after my HTML and CSS, I I did Python, right? And after Python, I had to like do Django, but that was not such a long time doing it, right? So what happened was um I did a bit of research after learning CSS, and I find out that Python and JavaScript are more beginner friendly. And as at the time I did the research, I think Python had more votes to the programming language that is more beginner friendly, right? So I picked up Python then, and I think I was using yeah, VS Code, and when the old PC broke down, I had to use PyDrot, right? I think Android IDE for Python. So yeah, I actually use PyDrot to code, and though I wasn't able to do some advanced stuff with it. And yeah, Django, on the other hand, didn't give me a really smooth, learning curve as at the time I learned it, right? So um I think I had a mentor later that actually, advised me and said, okay, pick up JavaScripts, right? And that was, how I actually picked up JavaScripts, and I did most of my coding with JavaScripts later. So yeah, I didn't mention that part, but I also did pick up Python. And the blockers were, actually going to talk about the blockers. Python I learned, and the JavaScript. So yeah, picking up a new programming language, especially as a beginner, you are definitely going to face a lot of blockers. I mean, most of the times you may really not know what is going on, right? Yeah, you can understand to an extent, but you know it's something you are new to, so you may really not fully comprehend what is running behind the scene, right? So yeah, you may get some errors, you know errors everywhere, right? And you'll be like, what's really going on? This is not working, right? But it takes that problem solving curiosity to actually
Curiosity and the
push and
drive.
fix.
Yeah,
Yeah, the drive, thank you, to to push forward and fix that. And at that stage, even up to now, if you're able to fix that bug, that error, I don't know about others, but I get this inner joy and be like, oh wow, so this was it. I'm actually finally able to figure this out, right?
exactly. Exactly. You
Yeah.
see, I tell beginners this, that don't shy away from errors. These are also the building blocks. These are training tools that have been set at your learning path, at your learning experience and your learning journey. If you must become strong in what you are doing, if you must become an expert, like you mentioned, these errors are tools that will make you stronger. And error is not part of most errors are not part of the courses you're learning online. There are things that make up your experience. And I see in recruiters ask this question a lot. They'll always ask you, what is the most difficult situations you've encountered in your tech journey and experience, and how did you overcome it? So if you have been shying away from errors, it can only be realistic when you have encountered an error and you solved it yourself confidently, and you can encounter such situation and interview. For you to answer it, you need to must have solved it and have a result from it. Man, thank you so much. Like Patrick, I love your insights about the drive, the resilience. You have to persist and not stop. Don't be afraid of errors. Confront errors, solve them. If you're having issue with any error and you can't, solve it yourself, you can encounter, go through online resources. That drive and resilience will push you into going to Google, going to YouTube, asking questions, come online, tag people, ask them questions, make sure that problem gets solved. These are the things that keep you growing in the industry and keep you, growing and maturing in whatsoever skill you have, trying to acquire. So thank you so much, Patrick. I love it. I think we'll be coming very close to the today's session. I think we started a bit early, but I know we share a whole lot of insight before we come to the end of today's session. I want to give Victor this question again because I truly love your approach and your career experience, starting from the hardest part down. Okay, I want this to come from you now. What advice are you giving to beginners, and where do you think is the best place to start? You have tried the hardest part and you have tried the softest part, and here you are now, an expert in the industry. Where do you think, what programming language do you think is the easiest way, the easiest to start with? And what attitude do you feel they should cultivate to push through? Patrick has mentioned a lot. I want to hear from you specifically because I know that you encountered serious blockers in your early stages. All right. So please, can you tell us what we have to do, especially as someone who passed through the hardest to the smoothest?
Okay, so for people who are starting out, I always encourage you to, first of all, know your focus, know your drive, know what you want, right, out of the industry. And as some persons will say, even if your genuine interest is money, know that it's money that you want,
Hmm.
and you know you know how to channel your focus towards it, right? So depending on the kind of field you want to play, and I think you touched on that a bit, right? Depending on the kind of field you want to play, it would greatly influence the language that you are supposed to learn. So if you're trying to play in the field of gaming, for instance, you could learn Python, but it's not the ideal, right? You should be looking towards C sharp, you should be looking towards Java, you should be looking towards C, C++, somewhere of that nature. So you should check the industry that you want to go into. If you're looking for web development, then you have an option of JavaScript, and you have an option of there's a whole lot of languages. Also, something sometimes what can even inform, like I said, if money is like your go-to, right? So you're looking for money, right? You should now also start checking these companies. Okay, what are the highest pay companies maybe in Nigeria? Say Nigeria, for instance, depending on what country you're from, right? What are the highest paid companies in this location? And then in this location, check those companies. What skill sets do they hire for, right? And then you can now tell from there, like, okay, this is the language that interests me. And I would say the approach you should use, and which I use personally, and when you were talking about like the challenges, the bugs you face and all that. I always advise people, like, you go from what you know, from the known to the unknown. So you just simple pick a tutorial, right? Pick a tutorial on a language. Once you've learned the basics, pick another. So maybe pick one tutorial to learn the basics. Maybe if you're going for a boot camp or whatever, but once you've gotten the basic, pick another tutorial that you would build a project, and then from that project you can transition into expanding it. So I'd give you an example of my own scenario. One, I did face challenges, but one of the reasons why the challenges didn't so weigh me back, first of all, was my why. I started it because I wanted to build a solution. But when I started, I first of all went to a tutorial and then learned how to build a blog. Now, when I built that blog, and then asked myself, how does this blog relate to this thing I want to use? So I was not like, okay, this blog has had the landing page. Let me convert this landing page to the landing page of this site I want to do. And then I started tweak the headers, tweak this, tweak the body, tweak the content. This detail page of this blog looks like the detail page of this thing I want to build. And then I began to tweak that. So you'd see that you'd minimize your errors, and then as you're trying to make those changes, you'd encounter some blockers, and then you can now start understanding those concepts properly. So in fact, when I first built that blog, I'll tell you, I was just copying and pasting. I didn't understand much. But by the time I started trying to, you know, transition that blog into the ideal solution I wanted, that was when I now started saying, oh, this is what this does. Oh, this is what this does. And then the whole thing just began to click. And so that's just like a general overview of the whole stuff. Just know the industry you want to go into. Those industries would determine. I mean, we have ChatGPT now. You can get a lot of those informations there, right? These things were not readily available when we learned. But when you know the industry, go from the known to the unknown. Pick something to build, right? Don't just, like, I think you've mentioned that. Don't just go and learn something and then you're there. Pick up something and said, I'm going to build this at the end of the day. Once you know that, find maybe
For the
there
day.
are lots of projects on YouTube and all this platform. Find a project that aligns similar to that. Build that project with that person. It will minimize the errors and then the challenges you would have. Then transition that project to what you want. And you would see that by the time you've transitioned it, you can even build your own from scratch and then try and build stuff and you know go up from there. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much. I love the way you have broken it down into bits and into simpler steps. Okay. First thing you need to understand that it doesn't matter which language you are starting with, whether you're starting with HTML, with Python, with JavaScript, whatever language you are starting with, what matters is that you start. Okay. And it feels lost sometimes at the beginning, but everyone has that experience. We all feel that experience. You feel so lost starting. Don't stop. Okay. You can proceed with doing your research, know the industry, like he mentioned, that you want to focus on. If you don't have an industry where you want to focus on, maybe possibly just want to do programming, you've not yet seen the application of programming, go online, ask ChatGPT, go to Google, search for applications of programming and tech. Even if you don't want to do programming, you want to do tech, look for where the skills that you are looking out for are applied, right? Then pick out a particular area of concentration. and start working towards it. If you are going into gaming, this area of concentration will inform the choice of programming language that you'll be going with. Okay, so no matter the industry you want to start specializing in, there is a dedicated and the best language for that industry, and the early you start learning that language, the better and the faster you make progress in that industry. Okay, so if you are going to gaming, mobile application development and all those stuff, you have to know the tools that are required. And when you have done this, let's say for instance, if you come to mobile development, we have Java, we have Kotlin, we have that is for what's it called,
Mobile.
Flutter. Yeah, we have React, we have React Native, that's JavaScript doing those stuff. So when you have gathered the information about the languages and the tools you need in that industry, you then also do your market research, like you mentioned. Try to find out which of them are paying more, which of them are more lucrative, which of them has a larger community that will support you when you start facing errors. There are some new programming languages that when you have errors, these languages are still evolving. It may not be good for you as a beginner to go into those languages. They are still developing. You may be stuck. You may not have somebody to help you out. So you can go to languages that have a very large community. Something like JavaScript has a large community, Java as well, Python. These are well robust and old languages that have lasted so long in the industry, and the community is vast and experienced. Okay, so you can go into these ones, do your research, find out, and if you start from what you know to the unknown, like he mentioned, forget the unknown, start from what you know. There are things you can lay hands on. You have YouTube videos. If you go through YouTube videos, for instance, you want to learn JavaScript, go and search for beginner tutorials on JavaScript. Don't just get one video, look for a playlist that is very much comprehensive. Get that playlist, look through it, video, watch through everything. And as you are watching, make sure you are practicing. They say A, you write A. They say B, you write B. Apply everything that the video is teaching. And if you encounter any issue, ChatGPT is there. A lot of LLMs out there. Carry the issue you are facing. Sometimes copy the error you are facing, paste it there. It will guide you into the debugging aspect. It will put you through everything. And when you are done, post it online, track your experiences, make sure that everything you're experiencing and the approach you are taking to solving the problems are documented. Bring it out, share it with people, get people's insight, get industry experts insight, and improve on any area that you didn't do well. Okay, these are things that you do and you repeatedly do them, and I tell you, you will have a significant shift and growth in your career. Problems are common, the solutions and the pathway to solving them are very, very important. So if you feel stuck or confused, you are not doing it wrong. You are learning. That's why you are feeling it. Even experts do feel confused at some point. Keep pushing. Even the best developers started exactly where you are now. I'm telling you, we all had even the worst experience more than what you are having at this moment. Okay, so my advice for you is don't stop, do your research, start with any language at all. Start learning the basics, do your research, know the best language for the area you want to focus on, and start learning it. If you have any issue, always feel free to join us here every Thursday by 7 p.m. Today is because of the availability of our speakers. All of us, we had to reschedule to this time, but join us every 7 p.m. West African time every Thursday. And don't fail to subscribe to our channel if you have not subscribed. Please hit the subscription button and notification bell and stay updated. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Twitter, follow us, X, formerly Twitter, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. We are everywhere. Our speakers are tagged on our channels. When you go to our post on LinkedIn, you will see I've tagged speaker Victor, I've tagged Anthony. You can follow them as well. Their social media handles are there on our LinkedIn page. So go do where to follow them. If you have any question, you can also hit us in our DMs. My DM is always open to beginners. Hit me and I will answer your questions. You can also feel free come to this comment section here. Subscribe to our channel and drop your comment. We'll answer your questions to the best of our ability. So thank you guys. Thank you everyone. Victor, thank you so much for the insight you have shared today. We are so happy to have you, and we are
Thank you
expecting
for
to
having
have
me.
you more in our comment sections. Yeah, in our comment sections. Patrick, I
Yeah.
also appreciate you so much. You have been showing up and you have been coming here to help our beginners and everyone who is looking up to start a career in tech. You have been so instrumental, and your information, your insight has been so helpful. We appreciate it so much. Thank you, guys. I want to stop today's session here, and I'm expecting to have you guys join us next Thursday.
Thank you
Goodbye,
for having me.
everyone. Have a
Yeah.
nice day. All right. Bye,
Goodbye.
Good
guys.
time.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, bye.